Smith is ready. Gwynn waiting to pitch. There's a drive, right center field, base hit, and there it is! Ho-ho, doctor! You can hang a star on that, baby! A star for the ages for Tony Gwynn, number 3,000. Well, the entire Padre Ball Club is heading to first base to congratulate Tony. The entire team is out there.
Time to do a little tip-off. Honor Tony Gwynn, childhood favorite. Baseball was at its best. Tony was the best. Sad. Chewing tobacco, cancer, takes him away from us. I'm David Locke. Good morning. It's interesting. There have not been many of my childhood heroes who have passed. I'm 43, and there aren't many who pass at 53. Chewing tobacco and the evil of tobacco and cancer through tobacco took Tony Gwynn from us yesterday. I went through my first ever interviews that I ever did in my career. In 1992, I did a show called Balls and Strikes on KIEV Radio, the talk of the town in Los Angeles. It was a Sunday night sports show. It was the first thing I ever did, other than some college stuff for play-by-play for Occidental. KIEV 870 AM, the talk of the town. You still remember it. And one of the first things I ever did was interview Tony Gwynn. It was during the summer of 92. And I would go to every Angels and Dodgers game that there was. The picture that is on the screen for our YouTube right now was taken July 14th of 1990 when I drove across the United States with a friend of mine, all masquerading as a college research project, getting college credit, studying crowd behavior, but truly to go see a baseball game in every major league stadium. And in Pittsburgh, we were on the field before the game, and there was a rain delay, and it was actually very stressful for us because the way the schedule was built, we could handle a rain delay in any city but Pittsburgh. If we got a rain delay in Pittsburgh, the whole trip fell apart. And of course, we got a rain delay and the possibility of a rain out at the old gross Three Rivers Stadium. But if I remember correctly, it was July 14th, and we were proceeding to work our way up the coast and seeing about 8 games in 8 days, and so all the way up to Toronto. So there was no way we could afford to have this game not happen. And we were in the dugout and got my picture with Tony Gwynn, then sent him a copy of the picture, and Tony Gwynn, as he would, sent back the signed autograph. Really, back to when I interviewed him, one of the all-time class gentlemen, and that's more clear than anything else. Yet grabbed by the addiction to tobacco and unable to break it. Tom Friend wrote a beautiful piece on that. Other Tyler Kepner, a good friend of mine from Seattle, now at the New York Times, wrote a nice piece as well. So tip of the hat to the great Tony Gwynn today. Really, most of you are probably, well, actually, it's not true. Most of you are younger. I've been looking at demographics of who's watching this show, and it's not true. Most of you probably do remember Tony Gwynn. I want to thank you. I mentioned this yesterday that the numbers last week were as big as any numbers we've had. I think that's accurate. I haven't kept perfect records. I know it's stunning. Me and numbers aren't perfect. But I do know that on Stitcher, we were the 12th most listened to sports podcast in the country last week. That includes actually on Stitcher, that includes all the World Cup stuff too. So thank you all very much. It's stunning and humbling. Yesterday was the Utah Jazz Suite Holder Golf Tournament, and so I believe we may have a few people that are new to us today, and I just wanted to welcome you aboard. Really glad to have you. For those of you that are joining for the first time that found out about this yesterday. Thank you so much. It was a great event yesterday at the Jeremy Ranch Country Club for the Jazz Suite holders. Those are the core fans, they're going to make Jazz Nation back up to what it was and make the Jazz back up to what they are in this process. It's going to take time, but those are really important people, and we appreciate that support. All of you are obviously incredibly important in the process, but I do believe, and I've said this before, I think that people always ask, how are we going to get to the point where we believe that we are, that we are going to be able to um, keep players and it's largely on us to be able to do this. I just realized I forgot to tweet out the show, so let me quickly do that while I'm doing it. I wanted to point out one other thing. I'm just learning about some of this stuff. I'm doing a lot of work on it. And I hate to ask you for this, but if you get a chance, any reviews, any comments and reviews you can write on iTunes or Stitcher and things like that would be really, really helpful. I'm hearing one of the things that's this more positive comments, higher rating, higher reviews, the faster your iTunes stuff gets uploaded. And I know that's been slow recently because I was calling around to find out. I don't know if that's true, but that's what someone told me. So if you get a chance, please do so. All right, let's get to a few things. I want to take a look. I just thought this was, worth a little gander. We've kind of kept an eye on this all year long, and that is just back to the regular season. We're trying to rebuild a championship team, or at least highlight. I kind of believe, I've said this before, that I think if you can get yourself in the top 4 in your conference, you're in the ballpark. But let's take a second and look back on regular season numbers here and see if we can learn anything other than the brilliance of the Spurs. I mean, they're just great. And I do buy into the fact that they're truly a team. I would also point out that their team has 3 Hall of Famers. But if you look back just on the simplest thing, offensive, defensive efficiency, we got to build an offensive team or defense team. Now you just got to build a really good team. They were number 1. They had the 6th best offense and the 4th best defense in the NBA, and the number 1 overall rating. Things they were really good at were defensive rebounding, offensive rebounding again. Even with Miami was 29th in the league and San Antonio's 24th, does not seem to be particularly important. If we look at the 4 factors, effective field goal percentage, the ability to shoot. I mean, sometimes this game is not that complicated, and this is where I could be dead wrong on someone like Marcus Smart or Aaron Gordon, who I both really like and both can't shoot. And it's just effective field goal percentage in the NBA last year. Miami was 1 and San Antonio was 2. Sometimes it's not as complicated as we make it. The other thing I thought was interesting when you look at the 4 factors is there's other than effective field goal percentage. There's in Miami and San Antonio 1-2 on the screen, which is worth taking a look. There's actually nothing else other than getting to the line where they're both in the upper crust. So the 4 factors, which for those who are new are shooting, effective field goal percentage, the rate you go to the free throw line, the rate you turn it over or force turnovers, and the rate you rebound. Those are the 4 factors in the NBA. I thought for all of our wanting to find data, I thought this was pretty interesting, and that is that my shooting the ball is 1-2. Nothing else in the 8 4 factors between offense and defense other than not fouling are both of them in the top 15 in the NBA. Free throw rate, Spurs didn't go to the line at all. Miami did. Turnovers, Miami turned it over. Spurs didn't. And you can see it on the screen. Offensive rebounding, both were in the bottom 10, actually bottom 6 of the NBA. Defensive effective field goal percentage, Miami's defense really wasn't very good. This is equally as important, frankly, is defending the shot. It's so funny this game, we're going to overcomplicate it. And this is maybe where Marcus Smart and where Aaron Gordon are that valuable. But if you look at opponents' effective field goal percentage on the season, Indiana, Chicago were the top. And then the rest are all Western Conference teams until you get to Charlotte and Toronto. The Warriors were the best. San Antonio, Clippers, Thunder, Blazers, Houston. That's how you make the playoffs. You become a good effective field goal percentage defensive team. So I thought it was worth taking a quick look. Overall takeaway is, one, you've got to be elite at both. And two, sometimes for all the other stuff, it gets down to making shots, which makes me wonder sometimes, I may be way off base on my how much I like a guy like Marcus Smart, who I just finished the video of, and how much I like Aaron Gordon. I was asked yesterday, the Warriors, it's a podcast that's up on iTunes right now. I was asked yesterday to do the Warriors mock draft with my good friend Tim Roy, and the draft order was, well, I don't remember the exact order, but I think it was Embiid, Parker, Wiggins, and Smart were gone. I was drafting at 5 for the Jazz at that point. I asked you guys what you would do. The wisdom of crowds is that Dante Exum had 16 votes, Aaron Gordon had 8 votes, Noah Vonleh had 3, and Dario Saric had 2. Not a single vote for Julius Randle in that mentioning by the Jazz. So he's really cool. I'm not sure why. You remember he was on the top of the big board for much of the year, and maybe it's, we saw a lot of him. I took Dante Exum. I don't know a lot about him. I need to watch him a little bit more. Draft Express has put together a video of Smart and Exum's plays against each other from a U19, which I think is going to be worth a look. I just finished my Marcus Smart video. It is available for you on the David Locke YouTube channel. I will put it on weareutahjazz.com. Feel free to check it out. In that interview, I do a love fest on Aaron Gordon. And a bunch of people said, you're probably over-loving Aaron Gordon. You're right. I clearly am. I may be right. I may be wrong. I absolutely don't debate that at all. There's no question that for whatever reason, Aaron Gordon has struck my fancy. Talking to an NBA scout, he pointed out, remember, on these guys that can't shoot, they do everything else so well because they can't shoot. If they didn't pass, dribble, handle, defend, and do all these other things, they just wouldn't play. They wouldn't play at all. And that's why they do these other things so well. Be careful in falling in love with those items about a player when they can't shoot. And it's a worth point. I mean, this guy's point is the kid from Michigan is who he loves. Kid can shoot. And to what we just looked at, you got to be able to shoot. And really, Aaron Gordon and Marcus Smart are questionable shooters. The Smart video breakdown is out there. Before I get into that, let me address 2 myths that are going on right now around the Jazz that are simply just not true. And so let me see if I can address those. One, Marcus Smart tweeted out that the Jazz are not interested in him. That is just fundamentally inaccurate. The Jazz have interest in Marcus Smart. They have been in contact with his agent. If he doesn't come in, does not mean the Jazz don't like him or won't draft him. The Jazz have done their homework through and through on Marcus Smart, are aware of him, and are perfectly willing to draft him at 5 if he is there and he is the player they deem to be the correct choice, and have interest and have talked to his agent. Marcus Smart tweeting out that the Jazz do not have interest is fundamentally not true. Okay? Let's get the facts in order. I think he deleted the tweet too. Second thing, some of the least good minds in the NBA have commented on this, but surprisingly, 1 or 2 of the best minds in the NBA have made this comment. The chances of the Jazz signing and trading Gordon Hayward are almost impossible. It's not possible, guys. There's no chance of the Jazz doing a Gordon Hayward sign and trade on draft day. Okay? The mechanisms that have to be in place for that to happen include tampering, frankly, which is going on. But the Jazz ability to sign and trade Gordon Hayward on draft night in a package, it's almost zero. I don't even want to bore you with all of it. Just throw it away. It's not happening. So there's 2 major falsehoods that are out there right now about the Utah Jazz. One of them is that they're not interested in Smart, and 2 is that the Jazz might sign and trade Gordon Hayward on draft night. It's just not a possibility. It includes all sorts of garbage, by the way. Frankly, includes the rookie basically missing summer league. It misses. It means Gordon has to have agreed to a contract prior to July 1 with somebody, or they have to. I mean, come on, it's just not happening. So be aware of that. So anyway, I took Exum. I love Aaron Gordon. I'll do my draft video breakdown on Gordon next. I'm going to start Vonleh today. If you follow me on Twitter at @LockedOnSports today, you'll get my thoughts as I'm watching Vonleh for the very first time. That'll be coming up. Rumors around the league, number 3 and Thaddeus Young to number 1. Philadelphia is making it sure seem like they want Andrew Wiggins, but if that's the case, I'm not sure why they're making this trade, because it does seem as though Embiid's going 1, Parker's going 2 to Milwaukee, and possibly Wiggins going 3, but I guess they don't want to mix that. I kind of agree with Philly. I think Andrew Wiggins is number 1 in this draft. I could not imagine not taking Andrew Wiggins. And particularly, I'm very nervous. I talk about this in the podcast with Tim Roy, and it's available for you. I'm very nervous about the lack of experience of Embiid plus the back injury. I'm taking Wiggins 1. Wiggins, when I finish my draft board night before the draft or something for you of players I've watched, Wiggins will be number 1 on my board. I'm going to dig down deep, by the way, for the next 9 days. There's going to be a lot of content coming out. I'm going to put the bike away for a few days and try to get some things done. That's unlikely. Okay, I'm going to do the bike and get some things done. The interesting one, though, on that to me is that Thaddeus, it clearly says to me that Philadelphia, Thaddeus Young is very available. I don't know if that's someone we're interested in. And it's not clear to me still what we're doing next year, where we are in this process. And maybe it's not clear to the Jazz either until we know what becomes available or not. But when I start fiddling around trying to think about adding, do you go make a move for Thaddeus Young? What are you trying to do again? You're kind of stuck back in this little area of are we trying to win next year? What's the next step? Are we just trying to develop the young players under Quinn Snyder? Where the minutes go. At the same time, let's not kid around. If you look at the history of the NBA, and I was going to find this here, some of what we're doing is dangerous. David Barry, who's out of Southern Utah, pointed out that just 2.3% of teams that won 25 or fewer games in a season proceeded to win 54 or more the following season. Okay, that's not surprising, only 2%. That we're not winning 54. But here's the daunting one. Only 11% of teams who have lost 25, who won 25 or fewer, that's us last year, right? Or did we get the 26 win? Did we finish at 25 or did we get the 26? But the concept is still there. Only 11% won 54 or more games within 5 years. That, this is we're into a tough concept of when and how do you get out of this? And I don't know when we do it. And so do you do another year? Do we go draft another? We finished at 25 wins, that's right. Do we go do another year of this where we, go take a less good, some draft pick type players? What do we do on the fear of how long can you stay down before? And at the same time, we're back in the same game as if you go win 34 games because you signed Thaddeus Young and you, it's very difficult to figure out whether you've gotten whether that's actually worth it. We probably need a veteran 1, a veteran wing, and a veteran stretch 4. So hopefully one of those is Marvin, and then we figure out who the other are. Chad Ford's new big board came out. Here are picks 21 through 29 for our 23rd pick. Jarnell Stokes was a 6'9", 262 power forward. I don't know a huge amount about him. And I'll try, I'm so focused on this top pick, I'll try to put some time in on some of these other guys. Shabazz Napier, 6'1", 195. My instinct is that is not someone we would draft with Trey Burke on our roster. They're both small. Jordan Clarkson, who came in for a workout, I saw, and is interesting at 6'5", 186, point guard out of Missouri. Probably could slide between the 1 and 2. Pretty interesting player, actually. Very young. Probably needs to make a little bit better handle, become a little bit, I'm not sure he's really a point guard. Probably caught in between positions. KJ McDaniel out of Clemson, which has been talked about a lot, is 24 on the chip. PJ Harrison, who was in but had the back injury, shooting guard, North Carolina, played in the D-League last year. Kyle Anderson, slow-mo, very interesting player. Not sure how he fits. I'm not sure he matches where we're going, what we're trying to do with everything that I've heard from Quinn. Klein Capella is a Swiss kid, 6'11", 222. So very little but big. Very little height, but big guy. And I don't know his status of coming over or not. The Europeans are all in and out, and there was the big defection yesterday. Clay Anthony Early out of Wichita State, 6'7", 210. Could be a pretty good defensive wing. Good, probably going to be a bigger Brandon Rush type player when Brandon Rush was good. A D and a 3 and D type. Jordan Adams is an interesting player. Not an elite athlete, but a pretty nice player. Came in just last week out of UCLA. And, C.J. Wilcox is still floating around down in the 30s on this draft on the big board. I like him out of Pleasant Grove, played the 4 years at Washington. History says that the younger the player early, the fact that Aaron Gordon's 18 is a big deal to me. I think that's a sign that he's, part of the reason I like him so much. 22-year-olds drafted in the top 10 don't do very well. Every number says that Doug McDermott will be a bust, but you get late in the first round and into the second round, then those 4-year players turn out to be pretty good draft picks. So I think C.J. Wilcox is interesting. The Marcus Smart video is up and available for you. You'll see he's just got some great skills and does some incredible NBA moves and attacks the tin and has some power to his game. At times is reckless. Takes some really bad shots. Is a weird mix of a team player doing all the little things at the same time, an incredibly selfish player. I texted with a scout last night. I thought he had an interesting comment. He's outstanding at times and forgettable at other times. I texted back, interesting mix of a team player and insanely selfish all in one, and he said, that's him. You don't know which one will show up. It's an interesting comment on Marcus Smart. Check out the video. It's at the David Locke YouTube channel. That is today's edition of Tip Off. Thanks very much for tuning in. Appreciate it, and have a great day.